Welcome to Module 2, Week 2 of IT 140 Introduction to Scripting. As you know, in this class, there are a couple of things that are due for this week. Let's go ahead and review them for a second, shall we? That was a mistake. Let's go in. So in this Module 2, we're going to go over conditional statements. That's really all we're going to talk about, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about it. Let's go ahead and just jump right in and see what's actually due this week. So there's the Module 2 conditional statements module. You have your overview, and you have your two discussions. Or you have your discussion, and you have the Run the Code Challenge. This Run the Code Challenge is in Codio. If you haven't received access to Codio, reach out, and I'll do what I can to help you. Otherwise, it's just as easy as logging into Codio and doing the exercises. So what I want to do today is I want to talk about the conditional statements. What is a conditional statement, and how do you use them? Okay, let me open up my Python IDE. I'm using Thonny because I don't know where my playground is in Codio, but that's fine. We'll get on with it anyway. If it opens, waiting for it. I thought I already had it open. Ah, there we go. Please prepare. No, please don't go away. All right. So while this is loading, let's talk a little bit about what a conditional statement is. What a conditional statement is, and it's also called a decision structure. And what it actually does is it allows us to develop in the environment for which we are using the program a way for the computer to make decisions. In most situations, when you decide to do something, you're doing it based upon a subset of events that you think should happen. If there's milk in the fridge, then I'll eat some cereal. Else, if there is no milk in the fridge, then I'll make some bacon and eggs. And this is the way that we normally go about doing our conditional statements in real life. Well, computers, and more importantly, programs really don't know, because most programming is declarative. It doesn't know that it needs to do certain things, and so we have to tell it to. So let's try something in this case. So let's talk about the king, or queen, if that's your preference, of all condition statements, the if statement. So first and foremost, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a variable, and I'm going to call it food, and I'm going to name it eggs. Okay, and now I'm going to ask if that exists in the variable. So if food equals eggs, then I want you to print, great, let's make breakfast. Oops. And done. So let's run this and see what happens. Oh, I have to save it first. Fancy that. Let's save it in the Thonny file folder, and let's name this one. No, actually, I'll save it somewhere else. 2 parsecs, please. SNHU, U. Save it there. Done. All right, and it runs. Great, let's make breakfast. Now, what happened? Let's go over very, very quickly. So I created a variable called food. Understand that a variable is just an object that holds data, or anything that you want it to hold, for that matter. In this case, what I want it to hold is a string. And how do I know that? Well, eggs is encapsulated by 2 quotations or single quotes. They both work. If you use quotations, it'll also make it a string. Now, what's a string? Well, a string is pretty much just a printout. So this eggs has no value. Basically, it just means EGGS, or the ASCII 2 character representation of E, G, G, and S. But you can't do any calculations on this. And for the most part, if I tried to add something to it, let's say I wanted to add, bacon. What would I get? And for the most, I want to comment this out. Yeah, I remember. Haha. That didn't work. What? Is there something I did wrong there? Oh, I laughed too soon. Well, that's fine. Oh, nice. For the wins. So if I said print food, what would I get? Well, I should get eggs, space, bacon. What did I get? Egg, space, bacon. Why? Because this is called a concatenation. What we're doing is we're taking two strings and we're pushing them together. And now they're one string. That's called concatenation, or in very short terms, concat. Okay, back to the if statement, because that's the king or queen of the show today. So, if, and this is our if conditional statement. So, if eggs is the string. So what this means is, so one equal sign means equals, assignment. I'm assigning the string eggs to food. Excuse me. Two equal signs means equality, which basically means has eggs been assigned to food? This is asking a question. This is making a statement. One equal sign means assign eggs to food. Two equal signs means does food contain the string? Is food eggs, really? Is eggs food? Now, that's kind of confusing. I probably should use it in the variable, but I can call this variable whatever I want. I can call it foobar, and it'll do the same thing. But in this case, what I want to do is I want to ask, is the string eggs contained in food? If it is, I want you to print this. Otherwise, go to the next line. So what happens if there's no eggs in food? Let's say we said bacon, okay? Let's say bacon is in food. Give me 1 second, because there we go. So bacon here, run it, nothing happened. Why? Well, the reason why nothing happened is because if you look at the code here, eggs is not contained in food. So it won't run this print statement. As a matter of fact, anything after this semicolon will run the print statement only if this Boolean expression here is true. What's a Boolean expression? A Boolean expression is an expression where either it is true or false, 1 or 0, yes or no, truly or falsy. Basically, in computer science, when we do discrete math, computer science is based upon the idea of discrete mathematics. And in order for us to use transistors and electronics, we need to see if something is on or off. That's the basis of computer science. As software developers, we also have to see if a electrical signal is on or off. This is called Boolean. In our expressions, it is the simplest way to conduct decision structures or control statements. So, in this case, food is the string eggs assigned to the variable food. In this case, it is not, so it doesn't run. Well, what if I wanted to check what if I wanted to catch everything that happened if eggs is not contained here? What do I do? Haha, on to the next condition statement. What we're going to do is we're going to make an else. So what is an else? Okay, so I know you've heard of ifs, and what ifs actually do is they just check to see if something is contained within something, if something is true or false. That's basically what it's looking for. In the case of this, this is not a true statement. Eggs is not assigned to food. This will never run. But let's say I wanted to catch everything else. So it doesn't matter what's in food. I just want to catch everything else. What's going to happen? Well, I can say else. And now what I can say is, well, that's fine. Let's use what we have. Now, what should happen? Well, in this case, if eggs is assigned to food, it'll print off, great, let's make breakfast. If it's not assigned to food, then this else clause is going to catch everything else that is not contained in this Boolean expression. Meaning, if this is false, else will fire. So let's see if it does fire. It did. Well, that's fine. Let's cook what we have. It worked. Now, here's my question. What happens if I put this back to eggs? What'll happen then? Oh, great. Let's make breakfast. What happened? Well, because eggs is assigned to the variable food. When this Boolean expression here fired and asked, is eggs assigned to food? Well, it is. So it'll run this body. But it didn't print the next one. Why didn't it print the next one? Well, it didn't print the next one because there's a invisible break here. In every if statement, there's an invisible break. What's break? Well, break means don't run anything else in this structure. So if I said if else These two cannot fire at the same time. One has to fire or the other. If eggs is true, if eggs is truly a sign of food, then this will fire and it will skip the else. And that's an efficiency savings, because you don't want to check if you've already matched one Boolean expression. You don't want to check to see if you matched another one. Well, let's say this doesn't fire and this does fire. Well, then it's not going to go back up and fire the food equals is food equal to eggs, because it found the match. Now, what happens if you don't want this? Let's say you want to catch certain things. You want to catch if there's eggs in food. You want to catch if there's bacon in food. Maybe you want to catch if there's steak in food. How would you do that? Well, you can do something like this. So right now we have if food has been assigned the string eggs. I want you to print, great, let's make breakfast. But what if it's not? What if we said else if food equals bacon? Because I love bacon. So, what did we just do here? Well, what I did was I added an else if statement. And how does that work? Well, if starts off our if control structure. If food is assigned the string eggs, this will run. If this is not true, if it is false, it'll go to the next if decision structure tree branch in this branch, which is else if food is assigned the string bacon, then I want you to print my favorite. And if it's not assigned bacon or eggs, then just print we'll cook what we have. So what should happen? Well, I'll tell you what should happen. You should get muff. Oh, that didn't work because I didn't change it to bacon. That was anticlimactic. My favorite. Because I like bacon. I like bacon and eggs, but you know, bacon's just superior. But either way, what you see here is a decision structure that, or a conditional statement that works very well within the confines of Python and every other language you will ever use. This is if, else, if, else is a decision structure or conditional statement that exists in all programming languages everywhere. So remember this. It might not be written this way. It might not syntactically look this way. And what syntax really means is the way it's written. The syntax may not be the same in C#, but if statements do exist. There is one other conditional statement that I want to touch on. I think it exists in Python. It may not, but there's one more thing I do want to touch on. So let's say you don't want to write an else if, or let's say you want to write an else if, but you need to write an else onto it. You can do something like this. If great. Else. Now, there are situations where you would want to do this, but in this case, I just wrote it in there because I want to show you that it can work. This is called a nested if statement. You can write an if statement within an if statement. Now, obviously, if I said else if food equals sausage, it does the exact same thing. But there are situations where this is imperative, or maybe more efficient than what you would have done otherwise. So, else if food equals sausage, great. Well, food equals sausage, I should get great, because food has been assigned the string sausage. Now, there's one more thing I want to go over with conditional statements. All of this is nice, good, and great, but I could have done this easier. I could have consolidated my Boolean expression into different things. So, for instance, let's say I said if food equals eggs, and then if food equals sausage, or side equals hash brown, then great, let's make breakfast. And I'll erase the rest of this because it's going to get confusing. So I have two if statements nested within one another. If foods equals sauce, eggs, and then side equals hash brown, great, let's make breakfast. This should work. Oh, it didn't. Because what? What did I do wrong? I messed up. I said side equals, or side I said assign hash brown to side, when in actuality I need to make this an equality and say is hash brown assigned to side. You saw that error? That was brain fart on my part, syntactically wrong. And what did I get? I got absolutely nothing. Why? If side is equal to hash brown, if food is equal to eggs, if food is not equal to eggs. Okay. And now, great, let's get breakfast. It all works. But I could have written this better. So now this is a nested if. And you can nest ifs all day long. And there's certain situations where they're imperative. Or you can use Boolean operators. Now what's a Boolean operator? A Boolean operator gives you the opportunity to write more than one Boolean expression on the same line. So, if food is equal to eggs and, wait for it, side is equal to hash brown, print, great, let's get breakfast. Now notice I said and. What that means is both food equals eggs and side equals hash brown must be true for it to print the middle of this. If both of these are not true, it won't print it. So let's run it right now to see the success. And look, it works. Great, let's make breakfast. Now let me take hash brown out of there. What's going to happen? Nothing happened. You can see that it ran, but nothing printed. And the reason why is because side equals hash brown is not true. Side equals empty string, or nothing. Now, what happens if I said or? If food equals eggs, or side equals hash brown, what's going to happen? Well, either or has to be true, but they both don't have to be true for it to run the middle of the body. Only one has to be true. So in this case, eggs is true, hash brown is false. But it's going to run because I said or, not and. So remember, the and operator, both Boolean expressions, or however many Boolean expressions you want to put in a line, because you can put many if you want, all have to be true for it to run the body. However, with an or, only one has to be true for it to run the body. And once it finds the match, it'll stop looking at the other Boolean expressions. So let's run this and see if it runs correctly. And there you go, it does. The reason why? Because eggs does equal, or a food has been assigned the string eggs, even though hash brown was not assigned to side, because we're using the or moniker, the or Boolean expression. So give me 2 seconds. I want to look up something really fast to make sure that I don't leave you guys in a conundrum. Because in certain other situations or certain other programs, we have another decision structure that doesn't exist in Python. So that's that. Remember, conditional statements allow your program to make decisions without you having to always declaratively tell it to do so. So the decision structures that we use in Python is if, else if, else. And of course you can write a bunch of else ifs after the else if you want. You can keep saying else if all you want. You can elif to the end of the page. Remember that when you write an if statement, the expression has to be true in order for it to run the body. If the expression in the first if statement is not true, it'll just keep going to the next else if or else until, or it'll keep going to the next else if until it gets to the else. If all of them are false, it'll run the else, or it'll run whatever is true first. Once it finds the match, it skips everything else after it. If you want two if statements to run to check something, you don't want to do else ifs. If you have two statements, so for instance, let's say I had a statement that said if if food equals eggs, if, here we go, if hash brown does not equal ready, so what is this Boolean expression? This entire time I've been using equal equals. This is an equality expression to check if both sides are equal. What this is this means is not equal. The bang sign, that's a bang sign, not an exclamation point. You're not seeing that correctly. It's an exclamation point, but we call it bang. The bang sign here means is not. Is not equals. So if hash brown is not equals to ready, then guess what? It's going to say let's make it. We should get both of these lines running because both of them are true. Hash brown is not defined. You are absolutely right. I meant side. Sorry, there is no hash brown variable, just a side variable. And there you go. Great, let's make breakfast. Let's make it. They both ran because they're both true. Side does not equal ready. Side equals empty string, or nothing. There's nothing in the string. We call that empty string. So let's talk about another Boolean operator. So this is the is not operator. This is the is operator, or equal to operator. There's another operator. Let's say quantity equals 3. Notice that I didn't put quotations around 3. If I put quotations around the number 3, it wouldn't be an integer anymore. It would be a string. I don't want it to be a string because if I made 3 a string in this moment, if I tried to add 3 to another number, all it would do is concatenate 3 to the other number. What is concatenation? It's when you put 2 strings together. So if I try to add the string 3 to the string 3, what it will do is take both of those 3s and concatenate them together to make 3, 3, or 33 if you're reading it like a person. So I didn't put quotations around the 3 because I want the 3 to remain a number, an integer. So in this case, what I'm going to say is, and I'm going to get rid of these guys, if quantity is less than 3, else if quantity is greater than 3, Alright, so what did I do here? I'm using more Boolean operators. This is the less than operator, and this is the greater than operator. I cannot do less than or greater than expressions or calculations on something that's not a number. I can, but I'm going to get some really interesting logic errors. In this case, what should fire? None of them, because it is neither less than 3 or greater than 3. Let's try it. And as I stated, nothing fired. That's not out of the ordinary because in some situations, what you really want to do is you want to find out, give me 1 second, there we go. You want to make sure that you're very specific. So in this case, what I want to say is less than or equal to 3, greater than or, well, let's just do this for science. What happens if I do this? Both of these expressions are true. Quantity is equal to 3. In this case, quantity is equal to 3. What do I mean by that? I took the less than or equal to. Remember when I said or? Only one of them has to be true? There's 2 expressions here written in very close proximity. What this actually means is the following. Quantity is less than 3 or quantity equals 3. That's what that means. Less than or equal to, and the same goes for this one. Greater than or equal to. I can switch it over so you can see that. So, if there's an or there, that means only one of these Boolean expressions has to be true. And in this case, quantity is equal to 3, so both of these are going to run. Let's try it. We don't have enough. I didn't get the other one. Why? Oh, I know why. Do you guys know why I only got the first if statement? Because once it finds a match, it doesn't keep checking the rest of the else ifs. It just leaves, which is what happened here. Both of these are true. Quantity is less than or equal to 3, and quantity is greater than or equal to 3 because it is equal in both of these situations. 3. However, because this if decision structure came first, the else if will never fire. We talked about that earlier. For the most part, I think this is all you really need to know. Remember, 1 equal sign means assignment. I'm assigning a value to a variable. 2 equal signs means equality, or something equals something. Normally we use those types of expressions when we're asking a question. If quantity equals 3. Bang equal sign means is not equal to. And the reason why it means that is because the bang sign, the exclamation point, means is not. We also have less than or equal to and greater than or equal to. Lastly, and the only other expression that I am going to reference in this moment is 3 equal signs. Oh man, the equal sign is just going crazy. Haywire. What's going on here? 3? Well, I understand what 1 does. I understand what 2 does. But what does 3 do? What does 3 do? What 3 does, 3 equal signs, is it asks 2 questions. Does the value on the right equal the value on the left? And is the value on the right the same data type as the value on the left? Remember when I told you I can make a 3 as a string and not a 3 as a integer? This right here is 3 as an integer, right here. No quotations around it. With quotations, it turns the 3 into a string. I'm going to leave wow. Oh. I'm going to leave the we have too much and we don't have enough in there because I want you to see what's going to work. Right now, I'm going to tell you this is going to work. And the reason why is because this is the string 3 and the value string 3 sits in quantity. Let's run it. What did I do wrong? Or maybe the data type quantifier doesn't exist in Python. My apologies if I told you something in error. I was over certain that it does. I think I get it. Let's try this instead. There we go. So, in C#, Java, JavaScript, this triple equal sign means, is it the right data type and is it the right value? In Python, they don't have this. What they have is. Is the equivalent of 3 equal signs in Python. So basically what we see here is we have too much means that it made the delineation that the value of 3 exists in quantity as a string, and the data type string 3 also exists in the quantity variable. Therefore, this is true. If I erase these quotation marks, this turns this string 3 into an integer 3. So what should happen is this first one should fire. I got another error. Why? What did I do wrong? Oh, bollocks. And there we go. We don't have enough. And this one fired, skipping the second one. Folks, that is it. This is all I had to offer you for conditional statements. If you need any more help, there are many, many, many different places that you can get it from. You can also get it from Codio. Codio will give you what you need. And you can go here. openbookproject.net is a place for beginner Python programmers and inspiring web developers to get their bearings when it comes to specific things that they may or may not know. Conditional execution is just a fancy way of saying condition statements or decision structures. And in here, you will find all the information you need to know about if statements, if else, they also have fancy pictures, and chain conditionals. They also talk a lot about nested conditionals. Only go to 4.3 on this page. This one will give you everything you need to know to be successful in your Codios assignments if you are stuck or need a little help. This has been fun, and I hope that you guys have had fun as well. I'll be making more videos in the upcoming modules. Otherwise, have a great week.